Hello everyone. I'm Tarak. So, how many guys from the web application bootcamp over here? So a lot of people might be familiar with me, but if not, I will just introduce myself to you guys. So, I'm Tarak. I work as a security consultant over here, and we have a team of great people. I think a lot of introductory part was just done by Sashi quite exceptionally well. So, I would rather just start off with the topic. So, basically, what you are going to do is understanding the art of report writing in the age of AI. Okay, so a lot of times we human beings are actually resorting to AI a lot of times, even while drafting mails, maybe reporting anything. But you know what? Things really get serious when it comes to pen testing or cyber security, because now you are working for the consultancy of an organization. So we need to safeguard their threats, and also we need to report it in a way that matches their pattern as well. So the purpose of this is actually to empower students like you guys to actually understand why reporting is important. Because see, a lot of times in this space, even me in my younger days, and also I have interviewed a lot of folks over here, I have noticed that most of those young crowds in this cyber security space has a mindset of going for bugs or vulnerabilities. So a lot of times there are folks who are like, hey, I just want to find remote code executions, I just want to find XSS. So all of these things are creating an issue. So the main purpose is, because of that, you are always trying to find the higher vulnerabilities. But the client, he wants a complete package. He wants his web app to be reviewed from every single way possible. So he wants a full delivered report. And if you only focus on the high vulnerabilities, you won't be able to actually deliver that. That is the issue. So the purpose is actually to empower you guys to basically understand why reporting is important in this space. Again, obviously to raise standards, because again, if you are in college, you probably would be writing a scrappy report, or nobody is actually letting you know about how to write a professional report. So let's just start off, okay? So before we actually start off with reporting, you know what? I had a conversation with my elder brother as well. So we were having this conversation one day, and we were talking about, hey, you know what? A lot of times we don't take our designations seriously. So you guys so let's say I work here as a security consultant, okay? So my job is not only to find vulnerabilities or probably to work towards improving myself. The main agenda of you being hired as a security consultant in a company is actually that you are able to report vulnerabilities, first of all find them, and exactly create a complete package. So whenever you are actually having a conversation with the client or the developer, you must be able to actually communicate all of these things to them. Now, a best way to do it, let's say not everyone has great social skills, not everyone can have a straight up conversation with the clients. We all are nervous, we all are human beings, right? So a report could actually be a good medium which makes the other person completely understand of what things need to be communicated, okay? So as a security consultant, you are not just a guy who runs scans. You understand the system, how applications work, where to find these vulnerabilities. Again, the thing is, you are not just done with getting the high findings, you need to validate them as well. You communicate the risk and not just dumb findings. Again, I told you guys to actually make a complete report. Again, in the age of AI, anyone can generate output. A lot of times you see people creating random posts with AI, but only you and us, like security consultants in this space, can bring judgment, context, and credibility to that output, okay? So I want you guys to have this mindset the next time probably you are working on a project, okay? So a lot of times in this current scenario, the issue is consultants like us, we do manual testing, we understand these vulnerabilities, and we document it, okay? But nowadays, as we are going in this field, I have heard from my folks, colleagues, and a lot of things in the market, even while interviewing people, they say that they are actually just made to run scanners and they just have to submit the report that is generated by scanners. Yeah, exactly. You named one of them. So that is where the issue actually arises, because now the drift is to actually get more vulnerabilities and just get the report done. But that is not how we look at Pentest. So classic example, so a lot of, how many people are there in college from you guys right now? Okay, that's a great, crazy amount. So I will just show you guys of a time back in 2022 where I was just starting off in this space, but I had created an assignment for my instructor. Other consultants, you can roast me if you want. Huh? So it's 25th October 2022. This is me, and I'm just saying that this is directory browsing. We go to the following website where you want to traverse through different directories using random tools. There are no captions, there is no spacing. Again, famous vulnerability that you guys might like is SQL injection. I will just show you the POC. See how it's written. Exactly.
If I am reviewing this report, I would have torn this report.
I'm pretty much sure sir would have done the same, right? That's fine, but everyone has a learning curve. This is, again, why did this happen? Because the older Tarak, I must say, probably did not have, the younger Tarak, I must say, did not have the knowledge or was not working in a cyber security space. So all he wanted to do was probably just submit the assignments to his professor, okay? But this was the reporting standard that I followed. There are no captions, no page breaks, nothing. We, through this whole agenda or this workshop, want to change the scenario and empower everyone or each one of you guys to be able to write a professional report. So, that is the agenda, okay? Enough of roasting for now. Let's get to the main slides. Okay. So, a lot of people in this space, they have a question like, why reports again? So even from the younger crowds, I do get this like, hey man, I'm just done with vulnerabilities. Why do we need to reports? It's all the time I get these suggestions from people. But see, when you're working with a client, it's basically the only deliverable that the client basically takes away, okay? So it's how your work is judged, not only about your high vulnerabilities, but how you actually summarize and document it. Things will be much clearer when we come to the reporting template. I will just give an hands-on introduction, but let me just brief you out through the importance of why report is important. Anyways, next move on to the next one. It's basically translating the findings into business decisions. Again, what you are reporting is actually going to a client, and it helps them to pass or fail a proper security audit. So again, a security audit is very much important. Why? Because companies need to be in compliance with some industry standards. Now, how do I stay in compliance with all of these industry standards? A reporting template. A reporting template, that is why is important. So, all of those people who are working on our Microsoft Word while creating a report, we are actually making sure that the template or the report is actually in compliance with the industry standards of a client, okay? Again, it's a permanent record used in audits at the same point. Again, the role of AI. Now, since this is a subject of using AI, I would like to give it some pros and cons right off the bat. So first of all, it creates a structure in seconds. So like why I'm just like, hey GPT, just create me a sample template of broken access control. It will just create the whole structure. Okay, that is not what we do over here. We manually create different templates, but for likewise, if you're preparing for intros, you could use that. But again, grammars and punctuation, gosh, seriously speaking, I have really improved my grammar by using ChatGPT a lot of times by use of commas, full stops, everything. So again, scalability, it summarizes 50 and that's perfect. Again, all of those generic stuff that you probably write in the report, for that you can actually use AI. But when you're actually documenting about the steps or being specific to a specific vulnerability or the scenario or exactly what is really happening, which is the analysis part of a report, you should not really rely on AI. Why? Is because it's context blind. It really doesn't know what matters to the client. Again, there's risk misjudgment. So you guys have heard about business logic vulnerabilities, anyone? Yes, okay. Can you define what's a business logic vulnerability for me?
On the payment page,
Hmm.
if there is two orders
Okay.
and they are race condition is one of the
Okay.
there. and we can manipulate the amount
All
of
right.
the product and proceed further.
Okay.
That is one of the
All right. So likewise, to give you guys a simple example, it's like, let's say you have shoes which are priced at 100 rupees on my website, and by abusing a business logic, you are actually able to buy those shoes for 50 bucks. So now there's a business logic flaw over here. Okay. So now when I tell AI this thing, he probably doesn't know the context of you guys buying the shoes. So it will just give me a generic template based off of what it knows about business logic. Again, false confidence. Trust me, guys, once I was really running out of time and I was writing the analysis part. So while writing the analysis part, I just told AI that, hey, you know what? I was so frustrated that I literally told, Joseph even knows that, I told AI that, you know what, GPT, it just feels like I am teaching you how to write a report rather than you helping me out. Because I had a tight deadline, I was frustrated. And you know what this dude did? This GPT said, okay, that's fine, but you know what, here's a better version of the whole report. And I was like, you are doing me wrong right now. This is not the time where we should be arguing, but I was like, okay. Nevertheless, I had to fix it all by myself because it doesn't know what matters to the client. Again, its shallow analysis can't unpack the root causes or real world impact. So that was it about the role of AI. And now I will just give you a small example. So there's this vulnerability called broken access control in web applications. Anyone has any idea what this vulnerability is about? You can raise your hand and just answer.
And whoever answers will get a code from me as well.
Great. Now, definitely there are more hands now. Okay. Yeah, you already answered. You could go for it.
So if a user does not have a certain level of access, they can access more admin or privileged account, or they can get access of a more higher role than they are actually allowed to from their normal permissions that they have.
Great, absolutely. So to simply, oh, I do see.
You will only get one, huh?
Okay. So likewise, to sum it up, it's like unauthorized users accessing stuff that they should not. So let's say he has a LinkedIn profile and I am a pen tester, and by using his LinkedIn profile endpoint, I could actually edit his information and tamper it. So that's broken access control summed up, okay? So likewise, in this example, what we are going to do is we are going to actually access the admin panel, and basically we are a normal user, but we could still abuse the endpoint as it is vulnerable to broken access control, and we can actually perform administrative functionalities. Cool. A definition: which unauthorized users can access functionalities intended for high privileges like admins, super admins. This is the example that we are going to follow in this reporting template. Great. Now let's just move towards the reporting part, which is the main USP of this FOXXCON meetup. Great. So people who are a bit familiar with my web application hacking bootcamp, they must be knowing what's really going on. Okay. So apart from the scrappy report that I showed you guys over here, this is something that I make in 2024 and 2025. Okay. So we start off with the executive summary. So even if may it be red teaming, may it be web application, may it be mobile app pen testing, any field you take, this is a standard which you guys need to follow in wherever you report. Okay. So likewise, even when you are interviewing or let's say you are applying somewhere, you could actually document a report or document an application in a good reporting template, and you can just showcase it to your employers as well, saying that, hey, this is how I actually document. So now you are actually speaking the language of a consultant and not just a college student. So this is the executive summary. As you can see that there are, on April 2025, Redfox engaged with Fernie to perform a gray box security assessment of Fernie. So Fernie is just a test web application that we created as endpoints. Okay. So when you want to use AI in reporting, all of this generic stuff like overview, you can actually use it. That's completely fine. But when we actually move towards the reproduction part, things are a bit different. So now is the scope where I actually start talking about what endpoint or what scope did I get from the client, which was fernie.redfoxsec.com, and a short paragraph letting the client know about what really the application is about. So it was basically a application that offered furnitures at various cost, and we just did number of techniques on that.
Can you please zoom this a bit?
Sure. Please, everything's visible on that side as well? Good, right? Okay. So you can see towards the left side, if the client really wants, why structure is important. If he wants to check out the methodology, he can directly do that. If he wants to go to findings, he can directly do that. That is the sole point of arranging things in order, okay? Again, if you could see, if you use the layout tab, trust me guys, we are going to learn a bit of Microsoft Word again. So if you check out the layout tab, you can see that everything is uniform, like OS 6. There's a before after of 6 after every paragraph that is completed. Oh, I should zoom in more. Is that fine? Everything's good now? Okay, great. So critical findings again. So now you talked about the application. Now everything's done. Now you're going to speak about the critical findings. Okay. So critical findings are like SQL injections or RCs or all of those findings that I told you guys about. So the client is mainly interested in this in these vulnerabilities because they need to fix it. Okay. So all you are going to document it in the critical findings section. Also you are going to link it. So write a brief about what the vulnerability is over here, and then you are going to link it. So if I click on broken access control, it will take me to the proper finding. As you could see, this is why linking is also important in report. Okay, that being said, then there's strategic mitigation, which you probably give for all of those critical findings which you have documented, which was broken access control in this case. Testing methodology is something that you could use. Again, if you want, you could use ChatGPT for this as well. And you can always change it a bit because there is a lot of generic stuff which goes in methodology, or a lot of things in methodology are somewhat similar. So people who are actually doing AppSec, they must be familiar with this. So there's no, but always make sure that it's in compliance. Again, if there's a specific testing methodology that has been used by your company, then always stick to that. Don't use the GPT generated one over here. Okay. Main thing, this is the main thing where we move on towards the findings. So in the findings, make sure the first one is your heading, and then you exactly tell them what the risk is about. So if it's a high risk vulnerability, they should start fixing it as early as possible. Next is the affected endpoint. You know what? This should be very much specific to the endpoint which is vulnerable to broken access control. I will just give you guys a short story of what the vulnerability is about. Should I just, okay, maybe I will do that. So what happens is that we are a normal user over here. So we are admin. So the admin has a create user functionality, okay? And if I observe the URL endpoint, you can see that there is a create user.php endpoint being used. Let me just zoom in a bit. Oh, that's the max I can go. Never mind. So this vulnerable endpoint, and what we do is in the incognito window, we are actually logging in as a normal user, which is Aaron in this case, and we are actually accessing that endpoint. When we access that endpoint, we are a normal user, but we are actually able to create users using the vulnerable endpoint and basically take over the whole application, as now we are actually able to create access and create an administrator user, and thus gaining a whole complete control over the application. That was the summary. But now how do we document it is the question. So this was the endpoint which was vulnerable. Now impacts, whenever you are talking about impacts, it should be about the vulnerability, and the ending part, which is this one, is actually the one which is creating urgency for the client, so that the client understands, hey, okay, I do understand that broken access control allows users to perform actions beyond their authorized levels. But what is the impact of it? The impact is actually that it could lead to unauthorized data access, privilege escalation, which was in this case the normal user creating an administrator user, and the exposure of sensitive resources. Now, if you could tell ChatGPT, it would probably just tell you that broken access control is a vulnerability to perform unauthorized actions. This can lead to unauthorized data access to sensitive information. That's it. It would not even talk about the privilege escalation part. Again, when we move to the analysis, the first part is always about the vulnerability. Kudos to the people who love GPT. They can use AI in order to generate this first definition about the vulnerability. It does quite a great job, but always validate again. So the second one is actually the main part as what we do as security consultants, and I really love framing this part to be specific because this is the analysis part where we actually document the whole process or the whole finding into a small paragraph so that whenever a developer is actually or the security engineer is working on it, he completely understands that what's going on. So even if you didn't go through the whole report and you just read these 3 lines, Redfox Security identified that the URL endpoint create_user.php had weak access control mechanisms in place. What did it do? Allowed a customer user to create an administrator user, gaining complete access over the application. This line is what sets us apart despite not having a functionality to create users. Okay, so how do we mitigate it? It's that all application functionalities should have authorization controls in place. That is basically server-side validation, made beyond cookies, made beyond tokens. So we just are suggesting the clients to have authorization checks in place. So the recommendation is an important part. Now, this is something that we all do, or what I showed you in the previous document, writing the proof of concepts, writing the steps. So whenever you're writing the steps, I want you guys to actually always take uniform screenshots. Also, resize your window to a specific size because again, I would suggest you guys to use ShareX. That is what even we use in our assessments. So make sure you are taking uniform screenshots, mark everything, which is so you could see that we are accessing the URL endpoint and we are logging as the user admin. Okay, everything is well tailored out. By the way, anyone has any doubts till now? Everyone's following through, right? Am I going too fast or anything like that? No. Everything is clear on that side? Amazing, great. So this is now actually how a security consultant write reports. Okay, so you are marking each and every step. So let's say their security engineers are working on it and they are like, you know what, I got no time, I should make sure that I just completely fix it. How do I do that? So he jumps off to this section and he just follows through what all steps that you have provided this guy with. So if you are providing the developer about all of the steps of how to abuse the vulnerability, again, he's on the developer side. He's not a pen tester like us. So he needs to know what's really going on and how did we reach this step. So the second one is actually, you could see the first line should always, again, while writing reproduction steps, make sure that you are not really writing big paragraphs. Everything is clear and to the point. Also, if you are using links, you can color them with a specific color. This is something of a good display that you could use. Always make sure that the picture format, that is the width of the screenshot, is uniform, because if I could do this 15 and if the next screenshot is looking 14, it doesn't look professional, right? Again, these reports go for audit, so we need to make sure that everything's running fine. So again, the second one is giving proper captions. Second one is actually giving proper captions. So when you are talking about captions, it is about writing the whole step in a small short. So likewise, user login.
Guys, there's
Yeah.
please drop down the noise here. Because,
Yeah, actually.
Tarak might be getting disturbed here. So guys, a bit less noise.
Yep. So thank you, Sashi, for that. Second one is you could see that you could observe that the administrator user has a create user functionality. So see that everything is being marked in rectangles over here, each step. Okay. So observing the URL endpoint, which is used to create users in the web application. You could see that there's a vulnerable endpoint. Now let's just read through like a developer who wants to fix this, okay? So, okay, I open an incognito window, we access the login page, we log in as the normal user Aaron, and again, we could observe, again, we are letting the client know that, hey, you need to observe that the user does not have the functionality access to the functionality to create users in the web application. Again, we are creating awareness in that. So user profile, Aaron. Again, this caption should always should justify the step. Don't overwrite or just make it about 2, 3, 4 lines. Just keep it short and compact. Okay. So next is you copy paste the URL endpoint as shown in step 3. You are referencing to step 3 where you could actually see the vulnerable endpoint. Okay. And you could see that the admin user is created under the context of the normal user despite him not having the functionality to create. Okay, so I think you guys, next you navigate here and you just cross check, basically you're logging in. And if you guys completely followed this report, could you actually tell me the mistake in the 9th step? Any one of you? Read the 8th one. Okay, great. There's someone is talking about space. Amazing. 8th and the 9th step. Just read through. I will just tell you how important it is for clients to read each and everything. They read each and everything. I'm telling you, trust me, guys. Which step? 9th step. Okay. Anyone? Any guesses? No, right? Exactly. But
So I think it's the size of the next one that I can clearly see. It's one of the issues.
yeah. So this one was 13. Which one? There's space is there. 6. So the thing is, in the 9th step, I'm actually saying that we are accessing the manage user functionality and observing, but there is no marking or there is no step which actually depicts that I'm going to the manage user functionality. So this is how narrowly a client might flag your mistake, and he would just send the report back and he would say, hey, either he would say, he would be angry about it that you did not show him the exact step, or he would send the report back and he will tell you that, hey, you need to make sure that you are marking the manage user functionality because my developer was not able to find it. So each and everything, it's all about being detailed, okay? And you ended with a proof of concept that's broken access control over here. So that is a flow that you guys could follow. Now, if you ask me, where do I want to use AI? Definitely you could use it in the impacts first line. Also, while framing the second one, where you could actually give it certain context. Next one, you could use it in the first part, which was the analysis, which is just generically writing about what the vulnerability is about. And I wouldn't suggest using AI for mitigation because I know a lot of times, even while I was reviewing the Pentest reports for web application hacking bootcamp, I could see people getting off with mitigations that were AI generated. Now, when you're talking about AI generated stuff, it exactly is not, it says all generic stuff. Likewise, it tells you to perform regular pen tests. Now, guys, is that a recommendation for broken access control? Definitely not, right? It also says that you need to perform regular security audits. That's not a recommendation, right? We need to tell the client how to fix it. So this is something that where we are inferring towards using server-side validation. So that being said, anyone has any doubts about the template? Anyone? You guys? Yeah.
Yeah, one very important thing here, guys. So whenever Tarak is saying use AI for report writing, so whenever you are in the prompt you are asking questions, please don't send the client data. You just don't send that, hey, I found on this URL this vulnerability. Can you please write me a report or finding like that? Because your client data is very confidential, so you don't want to give it out to ChatGPT.
Exactly. So yeah, so I was like coming on to this point because a lot of times you might just be tempted to enter all of these client details, but all of this is confidential. Again, if you're in the cybersecurity field, you know that there's an NDA that is also being signed. So please make sure that all of the client data is well preserved and not being leaked. So all of the generic stuff like impact analysis, where you're not actually giving out the endpoint, that's completely fine. You could use anything like AI in that case.
Tarak, can you show them one option there which shows breakpoints and
Sure.
all those things?
Okay,
so
so
it really helps me.
Definitely, yeah.
I don't know the option name, but
So now I have to start off with Microsoft Word tutorials as well. Never mind.
Yeah, can you again show which option you just clicked?
Sure. So whenever you are actually writing a document, it's in Word format, but when it goes to the client, it goes in PDF format. So alignment is very much crucial, because when you convert a Word document into a PDF format, the format goes haywire, right? And spacing and everything goes up and down. So why does it happen is because you need to, in order to not run into risk like that, you could go to this insert tab. Again, I call it, this is a tool which you could use.
Even you don't know the name.
Yeah, I call it the dude. I don't know. I just call it the dude over here. So it basically tells you where there are page breaks or not. So you could see that there's a page break. Now, how do I insert a page break might be your next question. So if you click on insert over here and you click on page break, it will create one. So now your document is well formatted. Okay. Again, adding captions, make sure that you are adding the right figure numbers. You can always format these figure numbers by updating the field by clicking right click on it. And yeah, always make sure that the spacing is uniform. The table of content is always updated. So you are giving the primary findings and everything as well. Again, proofread a lot of times, get it reviewed from your peers as well. So we move on to the final conclusions. I hope everything is clear. Yeah. Okay. So here are some takeaways. Make sure, now that you know how we write reports like a security consultant, here are some important takeaways. Always organize the findings according to their severity levels. Means that if you have high, medium, low findings, make sure they are in a specific order and you are not just inserting a low finding over a high one in the reporting format. What I'm trying to suggest is, let's say this is a business logic flaw, this is high again. This is because the template is not updated. Never mind. Let's say this is a low vulnerability. Okay. And I place it over here. That should not be the case, because the client, while reporting, he will see that a low finding has been reported and the next one is high. So always organize it based on the severity levels, is what the slide suggests you guys to. And again, don't use login. So a lot of times you say navigate to a specific website and log in. So you usually log in as a user, and what you are referring as login over here is the login page. Make sure that the report has proper index, formatted figures and page numbers before you are submitting it. Even if you will be ready for the future bootcamps, people are probably attending your red teaming exam as well, right? So make sure that you are following all of the standards, because all of these things will be in notice as well. So next one is captions. They should describe precisely what the screenshot is about. Spacing should be uniform. A list, again, a lot of times I will tell you folks do is, you can't really have a single thing in pointer. Okay. So let's say I am the following endpoint in the application. Okay. So what this point is suggesting is that you just can't have a pointer for a single item. It's always for multiple lists. So if likewise I had another one over here, only then I can add those pointers in place. Okay. Then click versus click on. Usually always click something and you do not click on something. Some basic English literature classes as well. So if any finding uses a different tool like Burp Suite or Nmap, always make sure that you are putting the link, because again, clients or security engineers, they might, or developers might not be familiar with the specific tool. Example, let's say that you are using Nmap, red teaming, you are using Nmap, or let's say you are using Mimikatz, something like that. You need to put the link towards the tool. Okay. Even in web apps, if you are using Derb, you can link the tool as well. So again, mainly thoroughly focus on the analysis section of the report that is being checked, and always use the term web application rather than a website, which is a bit informal one. Okay, everything's clear? Amazing. So there are folks who are just like courage and they really like to ask problems to AI no matter what. So there might be folks would want to use AI despite giving you all of these tips. Well, if you are in for that, let me just still shed some light on benefits of AI in reporting. So first of all, like I said in the first slide, grammar and punctuation, it helps instantly correct commas, punctuations and sentences flow. Second thing, let's say if you are stuck writing something or there's a long summary of things that you guys need to write in a format of analysis, what you could do is actually take GPT's help to paraphrase it in a more professional way. So helps rephrase descriptions, continue on analysis when you are stuck. That's the exact point I laid out. Next one are standard vulnerability descriptions. While writing the reporting template, I told you guys the first line in description, it's a generic one about what the vulnerability is about. You can use AI in that as well. And again, AI assisted verification. Let's say if there are certain technical details while reporting outdated JavaScript libraries, CVSS scores, or maybe you just got some resource off the internet and you want to just quickly verify it, you can use AI as an assistant. But again, I would always suggest you guys to use commands or resources or tools from reading blogs rather than using AI. Again, if you are into red teaming exercise as well, if you are stuck with commands, please don't use AI, even if it may be Rubius or other tools. Always make sure that you are actually taking it from valid blogs, because in the cyber security space, I will tell you, a lot of times these tools are designed or the way you actually use tools are actually laid out on GitHubs, blogs, or hacking articles. Actrix also is a great, amazing, and also you could refer to Redfox blogs as well. So don't use AI, because again, why? Is because you are tampering with client systems. If you run something malicious or suspicious and you don't know how the tool works, it might just take down the whole client system and alarm the SOC team and a lot of things as well. Okay, so that being said, thank you very much. It was really amazing having you guys, and I hope I shed some light about reporting on you. And any doubts, anything like that?
Just one thing.
Yes.
Can you please go on the fourth slide?
Yeah. Which one? This one?
Fourth one.
Fourth one.
Beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. That.
Yeah.
Here you have mentioned these two things: the manual testing and the running
Yeah.
scan.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you one thing: if you are on a client and you are having 3,000 servers over there,
Okay.
so in that case, then they are telling only you to run this scan. So how we can go with the manual testing in that approach? It's not possible.
Okay. Okay.
We can have both these approaches as well into the company. So it's not like that this
Yeah.
is not that much familiar with the organizational perspectives.
Yes, definitely. On that, and that I would say it's more about the validation part that I would suggest. You are absolutely right. If there are 3,000 systems, you need to perform scans. Definitely, I agree. But again, the thing is, with manual testing, what I would tell you is actually validating the stuff. So in security consultant, I had say that you just don't detect, you actually validate stuff. So when you're getting those reports of those scanners, you need to make sure that you are validating those findings in a manual way, is what I was trying to figure out. Okay, because again, if that's not a vulnerability, and because the scanners tell you so, and you report it to the client, and it's an invalid finding, right? False positive, exactly, yeah.